everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 19th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
Very good. I was very smart last night. I decided to tap out at 2:30, thinking we're not going to get feeds till when I would be going to sleep, which would be 4:30. Sure enough, feeds came up 4:30. I was in bed, asleep. So I made the right call last night, Taran. No energy drink from me. It worked out this time.
You know, no energy drink late at night, I think, is probably going to work out every time. Pooya, I think we should just put an end to it entirely. I think we need to prioritize your health.
But what if the feeds are very good? You know, that's the problem. It's the FOMO. I want to be there for a good moment. But I think ultimately I haven't caught up with everything. I'm very happy with the choice I made last night.
Yes. All right. Well, we are here to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 24 live feeds. It was day 44 in the house. And we do have some intrigue prior to the vote. We have of course, the eviction. And then, of course, the house has been split. We have the teams. We have the plans for the week. And the conversations that spawned these plans. So there's plenty to talk about here as we go through the day. But prior to the eviction, there was, again, some drama. It's not going to be particularly relevant, although it may have had some amount of impact on some jury votes, perhaps, and some other things that we'll talk about. But I mentioned yesterday on yesterday's update that on day 43, late into the night, Brittany and Joseph had decided that they were going to break the news to Indy that they weren't voting her out by revealing the fact that they were both in alliances with her. Now, Joseph was like, let's please not drop actual specifics or names, which immediately got tossed out the window. They are going to enact this plan, but very quickly are going to drop girls, 5 swatters. Basically what they're saying is, well, we got to talking, Indy, and we discovered that you are in alliances with both of us. And we're just very disappointed. And obviously, now that we found this out, we're just not as sure about voting to keep you, basically. And Indy is like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. First of all, girls hasn't been a thing in years. Second of all, 5 swatters isn't anything. Like, clearly, because if Kyle's supposed to be in it, he just left us on the block. So why would this matter? And they're like, it's the principle of it, Indy. It's the principle.
Talk about kicking someone while they're down. Just say that you want to go with the majority. Just say that it breaks your heart to do this, but you're going to do this. This is too much. What's the point here? What do you stand to gain here from this? And now it's Indy. So again, I don't quite know how Indy's going to take things. Indy has talked about voting with her heart at the end of the day, whatever her mood is. So I just don't think this has impact with anybody. Like, you're legitimately saying, I want to give you a reason to vote you out the day of, and then act like being incredulous about it. It's wild to me. Like, y'all are doing too much with this. Just let it be.
Yeah. So obviously, if you watched the episode last night, you saw that Indy was still blaming Kyle the most. That's because despite this conversation, or maybe even in part because of this conversation, she's like, guys, let's not focus on me being in multiple alliances. Let's focus on the fact that Kyle is the one that screwed us over and put us in this position in the first place by not using the veto. And she was like, Kyle is to blame, not me, not you, Kyle. But we'll see how long that lasts given the goodbye messages. So that was kind of the play there. Now that Indy knows that 5 swatters has been outed, she is, of course, going to tell Jasmine, hey, Brittany knows about 5 swatters. Joseph came and they were talking about a thing. I don't really understand everything they were saying, but basically they were like, you're in the 5 swatters and you're in other alliances, and I don't really know. And Jasmine's like, what are you talking about? What do you say? What do you mean they know about 5 swatters? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. Brittany and Joseph, they were talking and they were like, oh, we know about 5 swatters. And Jasmine was like, but they don't know like all of the people in Fives Waters, like right? They don't know all of the names. And Indy was like, no, yeah, they know everyone. And Jasmine was like, what are you talking about? Because she had just talked to Alyssa, who was like, they don't know the names. And she's like, what do you mean they know the names? Who told them the names? And she was like, Joseph. Joseph said all the names. And she was like, oh my God, people in this house can't keep their mouths shut.
And then proceeds to walk out going to look for people, and had probably my favorite moment before the feeds get cut today, where 5 of the leftovers, so I think everyone except for Monty and Taylor, were in the little pantry room, storage room, talking about some stuff. And she just jumps in, goes, I heard my name mentioned. Joseph, come on here. So it takes Joseph outside, like, I heard my name mentioned. Who was talking about me? And just watching Joseph scramble was pretty funny to me.
Yes, Joseph does scramble a bit here, tries to work on some damage control. He basically denies that he named any other names. And I think, again, Indy is a little too frazzled to really contradict him. So the feeds are going to eventually cut. We don't really see the end of this damage control. I don't know how successful it was. And so, we'll see. I assume that he's able to mostly smooth this over, especially given the perception that Jasmine has of him as like a bit of a doofus. I think that like, if anything, being like, oh, I did say the names, I'm so sorry, is like, would work fine. So we'll see about that. But in the meantime, Brittany is going to do work on Alyssa, brings her up into the have-not room. They love to talk in there. And basically tells Alyssa, and I tweeted this out, like, finally somebody giving Alyssa some direction in the game that's valuable to her. She says, look, Alyssa, I really want to work with you, but I think that you're going to have to distance yourself from Jasmine. I don't want to see you dragged down by her game. I don't care that you were in this alliance. I understand that you're clutching at anything. And Alyssa's like, yes, that's exactly what's happening. I don't even know what's happening in this game. I just want people to work with. I've been so desperate to work with you and Michael. And Brittany's like, yes, I will happily work with you. You just need to kind of drop that dead weight of Jasmine. And Alyssa's like, absolutely. I am so down for that. So they make that connection. Again, they've been bonding for a while now. And so, that connection has been made. Alyssa is ready to drop Jasmine in order to work with Michael and Brittany.
What she did earlier was too much. This is good. I like this. This could have longevity for you if, come next week, you are here, Alyssa's here, then you could maybe cook with something that could work out for you. Or if Alyssa wins HOH, you're fine. So I like this. This is a good, it's a good use of information, giving a little bit of crumbs, which is not a lot of information, just saying stay away from Jasmine. I feel like that should be obvious, but there you go. Works out.
There you go. So that brings us to the eviction pretty much here. We are going to see again that Indy was voted out 7-1. Michael does have that one sympathy vote that he was able to cast, successfully argued for it the night before. And then again, we see these goodbye messages where they all pall themselves except for Michael, which was interesting. I'm curious to see what the other goodbye messages were or are, and how much of them Indy will be able to see. But either way, once people start hitting that jury, she's going to learn the truth, and so it's going to be awkward. So we then got to the last 15 minutes of the episode.
The only part that mattered, yes.
Where we saw the HOH competition that Michael won alongside Terrance. And we were told that they are going to split the house into 2 groups, inside and outside. I'm not going to use their festival names.
Wow, Terrance, come on. They made the names for you to use, Terrance.
They did, and they also made the whack-to-doodle names that I never pronounced correctly. So anyway, that's cliffhanger. Michael and Terrance are about to choose their groups. And we complained about this last night because, this just means that Michael's going to be able to game these groups into basically his perfect scenario as long as things go moderately well for him. And guess what? He did. So let's talk about it. What are the groups? Many people were waiting late into the night, trying to wait to see what these groups are. Well, I think we have a general idea of how the order played out here,
Yes.
so we can kind of run through that. Now, it's worth noting, we're going to get some confirmation of this. Not a lot of confirmation, but some confirmation that they did have some time to talk. Between Julie announcing what the twist was and the twist and the teams being chosen. I think once the teams were chosen, they were separated. But I'm assuming that not only did they talk once the twist was announced about general Final Five strategies, general picking strategies, but also Michael and Terrance, when they were standing there with the rest of the house on the other side of the backyard, I think they probably also had a little bit of communication in terms of, again, strategies. Either way, Michael felt comfortable enough that Terrance would not choose Brittany for his team, that Michael went first and chose Jasmine to prevent the scenario that we were talking about last night where Terrance picks Jasmine and leaves Michael in a trickier spot. He decided to take Jasmine first and leave Brittany a little bit at risk in order to secure his own game to make sure that he had a target in Jasmine. Then Terrance went and picked Turner for his first pick. He is going to talk to Turner later in the night and say like, "Hey, you're my boy. We've had each other's backs." It's worth noting, if you recall, all the way back to week 1 when Turner was on the block, when Terrance was on the block and Turner was part of the Guys Alliance and the Guys Alliance was like giving Terrance a bunch of reassurance. Turner was one of the people that was like really going in with Terrance. God, their names. They're Michael and okay. I'll get to my naming complaints. Okay. Either way, Terrance picks Turner. He feels good about Turner. Then Michael goes and picks Brittany. Of course, keeping Brittany safe. He's now got one target, one ally. I believe at this point, Terrance picks Alyssa, which obviously Michael was going to try to force Alyssa onto Terrance's team anyway. But I think from Terrance's point of view, he went 2 allies first. He went Turner and Alyssa from his perspective. Then Michael goes ahead and I believe picks Taylor as his second ally. So he now has a target, Brittany and Taylor as allies. And then Terrance picks Joseph. And then Michael is going to choose between Monty and Kyle, and Michael chooses Kyle. Monty. These names. So the teams are on Michael's team: Jasmine, Brittany, Taylor, Monty, and himself. On Terrance's team: Turner, Alyssa, Kyle, and Joseph are on that team. And that means that Monty and Michael are on the same team. Terrance and Turner are on the same team. And it's annoying.
So is that the naming complaint?
That's the naming complaint.
Yeah, they couldn't split them up. Yeah, so
the amount of times in the conversation that Michael has with Monty later this night that I said, Monty tells Monty, damn it, no, Monty tells Michael,
It's going to be a lot. And given that there's only 5 of them, that's going to happen a lot for you this week because they can't talk to each other otherwise. Now, last night we did talk about, the ideals, right? What could be the most fun, the most messy? We're like, all right, split Kyle and Alyssa, split Michael and Brittany, put Turner and Jasmine together. Obviously, they got to pick. We got none of those scenarios. Why was this not randomized? We'll never know. Because here's the thing. Even if I didn't love the outcome of whatever the splits were, that like heart-pumping nervousness, if they had to do it random, would have been worth it. It would have been compelling. It would have been fun. We didn't get any of that.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Michael very much so makes the optimal decisions here. He gets... what you do in this spot, you pick 2 people you can trust and 2 targets. If you do that, you can't lose. As long as the people you can trust, you can actually trust, you're golden. All he needs to do is nominate Monty and Jasmine, and then trust that that Taylor and Brittany will not use the veto, and boom, just like that, he can't lose, because even if Monty or Jasmine win the veto and he has to put up Taylor or Brittany, he still has one of Taylor or Brittany to vote whichever way he wants, and then he breaks the tie to continue to get out whoever he wants. So Michael is set up perfectly on that side, and he managed to stick other people on the other side that are pretty perfect for him as well. Alyssa's over there, so he doesn't have to be the one to take that shot. And also, Terrance is not looking to take a shot at Alyssa, also leaving Kyle over there, basically like leaving Kyle with the marshmallows of temptation, right? Like he said, Kyle, I'm gonna, you know how I said if you don't eat a marshmallow, I'll give you 2? He was like, here's a whole bag of marshmallows, and I can't even come outside anymore. You cannot eat them if you want, or I don't know, if you eat them, and then if he eats them, he's gonna be like, Kyle, how dare you? Unbelievable. I can't believe you betrayed the alliance and ate the marshmallows. So we'll talk about this. How this is gonna work is that we've got inside feeds and we've got outside feeds.
Yes.
So we're going to be a little experimental here on the update. We're going to go one at a time. We're going to go inside, and then we're going to go outside. So we're going to run through the night inside, and then we're going to rewind time and go back and run through the night outside, and we'll figure out what's going on both ends. How does that sound, Pooya?
I like it. That works well. It'll be quick, concise. I feel like people will not be worried of jumping around. Aces. Let's give it a shot.
All right. Well, inside, it's a little more straightforward because I already outlined. It's already all laid out for you. So that's why I'm doing inside first. So inside, Michael is going to have his HOH room, and he gets a letter and everything. He starts talking game. He first talks to Jasmine. And he says, well, obviously, I'm putting up Monty. Monty is my target. There's no point in backdooring anyone this week because everyone plays in the veto. And Jasmine's like, oh, damn, you're right. Wait, so what if he wins the veto? And he's like, oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I was hoping to pick Turner as a backup target, but Terrance screwed that up. So now, I got kind of stuck with what's going on. And so Jasmine's like, okay, well, I assume that it'll be between me and Taylor for who goes up next to Monty. We did say we wouldn't put each other up before the HOH competition, but I know this twist changes things. And he's like, yeah, I'm not sure. She's
Wasn't
like,
considering it. I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, if not for the twist, obviously, definitely would have kept to that promise. But I don't really have many options here. And so, obviously, Michael, one of the things that Michael needs to do in these conversations, particularly with Monty and Jasmine, is try to prevent them from coming to the very logical conclusion that they were chosen as the two targets and or backup targets. So like obviously both Monty and Jasmine think that the other one is the target, but it shouldn't take too much of a leap to realize someone had to be the backup target, and it's probably the person that's on the block next to me. Or that if I'm on the block next to the assumed target, then I'm probably the backup.
Yeah, there's 5 of you. They're handpicking who they want on their sides, meaning they already have a decent idea once they have the 5 who are the 2 that are going up, because it's not randomly generated. I feel like the information's all there. It's just a matter of whether they're going to pick up on it, and then what are they going to do with that information if they do pick up on it.
Mm-hmm. So Jasmine talks about how she wasn't expecting Turner to be Terrance's first pick. She goes through some reasons why maybe she shouldn't go on the block. Foremost being, you wouldn't want to put me up on my birthday week, right, Michael? Right?
Yeah, that is a legitimate reason. Let's not forget, Jasmine's also the only one that's not gone up from that side. You cannot milk this further. there's only 5 of you. You are going up. Just accept it. Don't milk this birthday.
Yeah, I should. You know what? I should have prepped the klaxon soundbite from QI. This is like this was wrong. This was the wrong thing to say to Michael. He has actually predicted that you would say this, and that's how wrong it is. He's been saying all week long that it's time to stop with the birthday stuff. And so after she leaves, he's just like, yeah, she's going up.
Yeah, the fact that you even tried that. I don't know if we've talked about this before or if we have an answer to this definitively. Can you lie about your birthday when you go in the house?
Oh yeah, people have done it before.
Oh, they have, right? Because I feel like I remember that. If you're going to the house in the future, make your birthday during the Big Brother season and then try and milk it, or get a free cake out of the deal. That's a good shout, honestly.
So Michael is going to talk to Monty afterward, and he says, "You'll never guess what Jasmine. She wants to not go up because it's her birthday week." And they're like, "Oh my God, Jasmine." Monty thanks Michael for picking him. Oh, thank you. Because obviously being outside would suck. And Michael says, "Yes, absolutely. My goal was obviously I want as many competitors on my side as possible to prevent Jasmine from winning the veto. So I picked you. Hopefully the goal is just stop her from winning the veto. I think our team is stacked enough. I think we'll be set." This is basically Michael's excuse for picking Monty. That he's not even thinking about alternatives or backups. He just wants to make sure they stack the veto and prevent Jasmine from winning, which shouldn't be too hard.
I think, we can see what his reasons were. I think they're twofold. One, a backup's not a bad shout, right? Two, it was between him and Kyle. And I feel like he didn't want to be associated with anything Kyle might do. And Kyle might do exactly what he needs done, which is just take someone else out. But then that's all on Kyle, not on him. And he goes into the week not being able to compete for HOH with literally no blood on his hands, because it's either Jasmine went, I did what we were supposed to do, or Monty went, but Jasmine won the veto. I literally couldn't do anything about it. So it's like a bit of a win-win-win-win-win situation once you consider all those factors.
Yes. So Michael says, I hope I didn't make the wrong decision, because, I did leave Kyle on the other side. I hope that doesn't screw us over if he goes rogue. And Monty's like, yeah, I really did see a different side of Kyle last week. I really thought that he was somebody that could be relied on, but after last week, I don't know. But hopefully nothing screws up over there. So they also talk about, they can't figure out what Terrance was doing picking Jasmine and Joseph in the comp. Like, what was up with that? That was weird. And Monty says, I think things worked out really well. And totally fine. Obviously, I'm the assumed target here. Michael's like, yeah, he's like, I'm totally fine going up on the block. I get it. It's time for me to finally win a veto. Make sure that Jasmine doesn't win, and then we're all set.
Which I know that they speculated about it a teeny tiny bit, but I feel like it makes sense given that they can't compete anywhere else, that this would be the week where we get the tiny veto, the little baby veto.
Oh, that would be bad news for Monty.
Yeah, this is steady hands.
Just in the sense that that's one that Jasmine could absolutely win.
Don't put that out there.
So you put it out there. You put tiny veto out there.
I put the comp out there. You put the who could win out there.
You knew the implications, Pooya.
Fine, we are accomplices in this bad deed.
So Monty, seemingly at least, very much calm, happy with the choice, feels very good, doesn't really. I'm sure there's part of him that realizes that he might be screwed if the veto is won by Jasmine, but he doesn't seem to be expressing it as of what we've seen, at least. Obviously, the way that the feeds are set up, we're, I think, a little more likely to miss some things, especially in the house, because it's often split between two. Like the inside feeds were basically in the HOH room the entire time. We barely saw anything outside of the HOH room through the night, at least. So we'll see if he had any other conversations. Not that like who would he talk to about it? If he did feel bad. But either way, he tells Michael he's totally fine going up on the block, and that's the conversation there. Michael's going to talk to Brittany and explain his thought process. He did think it through in the middle of the HOH competition. We talked about this last night. He knew that by picking Terrance and Jasmine, that he's guaranteeing one of them wins HOH. But he was fine with that because it also guaranteed that one of him or Turner would win HOH. And he was, preventing the scenario where both Jasmine and Terrance won. And also considering, okay, somebody on the other side has an HOH. That's, So he did think that through. He said picking Jasmine first was a risk, but luckily Terrance didn't pick Brittany in retaliation. He said he intentionally wanted Kyle on the other side because if he pulls something off over there, Joseph doesn't come back. Oops.
Very much Michael's MO. Like I've seen him do this shoulder shrug thing like 3-4 times in the last month. If it happens, I don't know. I guess, it is what it is. I mean, nothing's happened yet, but I feel like he's been waiting for one to happen at some point.
Mm-hmm. He says this is also an opportunity to talk to Monty more and get a sense of where that relationship stands, essentially, because he does feel like, he just beat Monty. Like Monty keeps losing to him in competitions. Maybe Monty isn't quite as big of an endgame comp threat as they might have thought. He does seem really stable and loyal. And so maybe they don't need to be considering taking a shot at him. Maybe they can be reevaluating their stance with Monty. They take this week. There's only 5 people in the house to really get to know him and like lock in a relationship with him. It's an opportunity to sort of like feel things out, AKA not just assuming that he's against you because of reasons. They also say if he doesn't win the veto, at the end of the day, we can choose. If Monty and Jasmine stay up on the block, Brittany can choose to vote out Monty, even if Taylor doesn't agree with it, and Michael can break the tie to evict Monty if that's what they want to do. However, they are leaning toward not doing that at this time. They feel like they might as well lock things in because here's the thing. This is such a good outcome for Michael and Brittany. They are set up really, really well with this twist. And they say as much because if they take out Jasmine and the other side takes out Alyssa, let's say everything goes right for the leftovers, then they're at the final 8 where Terrance can't even compete for the HOH. And assuming that nobody takes the shot at them early at 8, which nobody is thinking of doing at this time, then somebody else will win HOH while Michael can't compete, take out Terrance, and now Michael and Brittany can both compete at Final 7, and the whole Kyle tension still exists. Kyle will still want to work with them, probably over the guys, and they're not in a terrible spot there, even if they do have to go to the 7 with the leftovers, at least they feel. But there's also a huge opportunity that if something does happen on the other side and Joseph leaves and they take out Jasmine, now they have multiple opportunities. They have 2 people left outside of the leftovers. Because let's say Joseph leaves and there's nothing that Kyle could have done about it. Leftovers are still together, but now Joseph is gone. Now there's a 6-person alliance that needs to take 2 people out, and now they're guaranteed final 6 if the leftovers don't turn. Now they're 2 of the 6 people where Michael has been a huge comp beast. That's a pretty great place to be. And they still have those 2 opportunities to take a shot early if they need to. And if Kyle intentionally takes out Joseph and gets in trouble for it, now there are 2 people outside of the alliance and Kyle and Alyssa as a threat in front of them. Now they're like probably at least final 5 before anybody bothers to take a shot at them. So they don't really even need to take this shot at Monty necessarily because they're in a pretty decent place, even if they don't. But the option still does exist if they do. So the twist was really, really good for them because they were able to pick their teams.
Yes. I will say, if outside part of things, if Alyssa does go out on the outside, and then on this side, outside of Jasmine winning veto, they get rid of Monty, then I would worry for them a little bit. Because then I feel like, especially if everyone else on the outside with the leftovers really wanted everyone to stay together and they drew first blood, I don't love that for them. But everything else you highlighted, they look pretty well set for a long haul here.
Yeah, and that's why they're leaning much more toward not taking the shot at Monty right now. They feel like that has more risk for no reason when everything is looking good if they don't take the risk. So they're feeling very good. Michael does say though, he says, "Look, I will say one thing. Jasmine did have a really compelling argument." She said, "Oh, really?" It's like, "Yeah, it's her birthday week."
Shady, but I love it. I love it. I love that they're in on the joke. It's great.
They talked a little bit about the competition. I thought this was interesting that Michael talked about how Kyle had a strategy that he ended up using, and he ended up using to beat Kyle. That was he didn't bother looking at the column that had been the previous answer. So if the previous answer was C, he started with A and B before he finally looked at C, because those were more likely to be the next answer and not be repeats. And he said it worked really well. And I'm like, that's how he beat me. Stupid Michael.
Yeah, 50-50 instead of 33%. It works out.
And so he also said that he says, look, we've talked about how like we're kind of like the Cliff and Nicole right now, but they messed up. They took the wrong people. They took the showmans to the end. We are not going to make that mistake, hopefully. And so they also talk about the only reason why they, in my opinion, would consider taking out Monty is the idea that what if Kyle ends up being taken out on the other side? If Kyle ends up being taken out on the other side, now all of a sudden they've lost that buffer and that potential ally at 7, and they're not quite in the spot that they would like to be necessarily. Now, they should still have the buffer of Alyssa and Terrance as long as nobody in the alliance takes a shot. They should still get down to 6, and that's why still they are not going to take the shot at Monty yet. But what it means is if they lose Kyle on the other side, at 8, they'll probably be looking to pull Alyssa in and take a shot early before 6. And so that's kind of how they're feeling on that end. Michael is going to mention again the core of the alliance, aka the Pound, what Kyle told him about. Kyle has talked more about it. He said basically that he feels like he's been replaced in the Pound by Taylor, which is not entirely off. I think at least in terms of Joseph's point of view. I don't know that Monty feels this way, which, by the way, we do need to talk a little bit more about Monty before we go outside. They talk about this core, and they're like, what is wrong with Turner? Like, why is he so loyal to these 4 bros? Like, it's not smart for him at all. He loses to all of them. Like, you wouldn't think that he'd be like a guy that just follows the bros, but apparently he is. And so very much they don't respect Turner's game for being loyal to the Pound. This is, of course, very bad for Turner, assuming that he does stay loyal to the Pound, which he probably will. But we'll see how things play out on the other side of the house. Either way, though, they don't feel like that this is a smart move for Turner. And they hope that Monty doesn't win the veto, because if Monty wins the veto, then Michael will have to show that he prioritizes Brittany over Taylor by nominating Taylor over Brittany. Not that she doesn't already know that, but basically this is like a rehearsal for the real Final 5. And if Taylor thinks of it that way, it might kind of get her wheels turning and maybe start to make her think about something else. Like, it's one thing to be like, yeah, I'm the third in this 3, but that's fine because we'll get to the end and it'll be us 3. It's another thing to be in a like preview of what might be the Final 5, and all of a sudden you're going on the block and you're, wait, this is what it means to be the third? at Final Five, like, I don't like this. So they're hoping that they don't have to deal with that scenario.
Well, do you think, because I definitely have a feeling about this, should just put up Brittany in that instance, or are you like, nah, never risk her no matter what? Because I feel like given the breakdown of the house he has picked, they're fine. They should not worry about Monty or Taylor taking the shot at Brittany when Jasmine's right there, right?
I don't think so, because if he puts up Brittany, I don't think you're fooling anybody. I don't think
Like
Taylor.
It's just cosmetic. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like I don't think Taylor goes, oh, he actually prioritizes me over Brittany. Like, I don't think she actually believes that. I think she sees through it that, like, oh, you're just putting her up there because you know that she's not being voted out, and now you're giving the opportunity to, like, for her to be voted out potentially. And it's also like, if anything, I think it's like, oh, you're thinking that much ahead. Like, this is even worse. Not only are you not going to really prioritize me when the time comes, but you're also smart enough to realize you're trying to trick me into thinking that you will. So yeah, I think not nominating Brittany is the right call here.
Okay, yeah. I just asked the question. That was it. Yeah.
So Michael and Taylor are going to talk. He's going to run her through the plan. Pretty simple on that end. He gives, of course, no indication that he might think anything different. Obviously, if Jasmine wins, whoops. But Monty and Jasmine on the block. They send Monty home if they win the veto. Pretty simple. Nothing too wild here.
Yeah, I think that about covers inside, right? I mean, at the end of the night, Michael does talk to the cameras and he does confirm what his final three looks like, which Brittany and Taylor are included. Now, when it comes to the fourth, right, I'm very intrigued because you've obviously mentioned that, could be Monty, could be this person, could be that person. I think there's a lot of merit for him to consider Monty, especially given Monty versus him heads up in comps. I feel like he's going to be fine in that department. And when you look at some of the other players, I feel like they might be worse for them. Obviously, Terrance, I'm not even going to do that. I'm not going to do what the house did and be like, Terrance won't win anything, because look, Terrance is the HOH right now. So I'm intrigued where they end up deciding who their fourth would be in the remainder that remains here.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I haven't seen Michael really consider yet that I would consider if I was Michael is I have this info on what he believes to be the core four, right? The pound. He doesn't know it's called the pound, but he knows that it's a 4-person thing. If he did want to take a shot at Monty, I think there's a world where he's able to get Taylor on board by exposing that Monty is secretly in a 4-person guy alliance with Joseph, Kyle, and Turner, and saying, like, like, I found out about this because Kyle was so mad last week. Like, essentially play it like Kyle did with Alyssa. Like, Kyle accidentally exposed this to me last week because he was so mad, but then he tried to backtrack and downplay it. But those 4 guys, they are locked in. They're gonna crush us when we get down to 7. We can't go to 7 with them. We need to take the shot while we have the chance. I think there's a chance that he can turn Taylor with that argument. And if he has the support of Taylor taking out Monty, then the blowback from the alliance not going to be as pronounced, right? Especially if we're looking at, like, the Kyle and Alyssa of it all. Like, they're going to still be locked in. The only issue is that if Kyle does manage to take out Joseph on the other side, you might be in a position now where both of your targets are gone. And now it's like you versus Kyle all of a sudden, because who else is there to take out? So it's not necessarily the right call to take out Monty, but I do think the option is available if he decides to rat out that core 4. I don't think you make. I definitely don't think you make this move without the support of Taylor, and I think that's how you can try to get Taylor's support if you do want to make the move. So we'll see. Michael is going to, as we said, talk to the cameras. He says he knows he's making a lot of mistakes. He knows the alliance is kind of steamrolling, but he's trying his best. He's trying to do his best for his game. He's still feeling good about the final three with Brittany and Taylor. The only other option, of course, is bringing somebody that they can beat, aka Terrance. But he's, obviously that's going to be pretty difficult to manage. But that is the other final three that he is considering. Again, this has all been very consistent for the last month in the game, so nothing too new here.
Yeah, I don't think anything has changed really. And I mean, they're gonna have plenty of time to think and talk amongst them. So there's 6 days, only 5 of them. Once the veto ceremony's done, it's just, they're coasting. So we'll get I think this week we're gonna get a lot of end game talks from people to highlight what they're planning on doing, if anything shifting. That'll all come later in the week.
Yes. Now, the only other thing to talk about from the inside is that prior to the eviction, prior to Inside and Outside, we did finally get an apology from Monty to Taylor about the events of the first week. It wasn't necessarily an extensive apology, but he did reference that he's sorry for how things played out, that he believed the wrong people, and he does feel bad about it. It was really nice to see, because I think a lot of people had been waiting for an apology from Monty. Obviously he joined the Leftovers and he's been so cool with Taylor for a while now, but never really gave that full apology. So it was really nice to see. And that for a long time there have been jailer shippers, and now I'm starting to see Taylor?
Mailer? Or
Mailer's a little too close to jailer, I think.
Well, I don't like Taunty either, so I don't want to go with that. We'll workshop it.
Monte, that's what it is.
That's the winner. Why Taunty? What am I doing here? All right. Don't ask me for ship names. I'm not good at them. Okay.
So I don't know how shipping works. I don't know if the Monte shippers are gonna go to war with the jailer shippers, but either way, just stay on the lookout.
We'll see how it goes.
All right. That was Inside. That's what we have inside, and now it's time to go outside. That's the transition music.
That's good. That's gonna be a great this week. I like that.
We could also use some BB5 transition music.
That's too nice to what they have outside. I think that's you're nicing them with that one. But that is good. That's a good transition sound.
So let's head outside. We're gonna rewind the clock and head outside to the Terrance, Turner, Alyssa, Kyle, and Joseph group. Now, I think that the second that I saw that this was the group outside, I immediately got concerned for Joseph, because even if Terrance isn't looking to target Joseph, Alyssa, Kyle, and Turner will all target Joseph. Obviously Turner would target, I think, Alyssa over Joseph, but he would target Joseph over Kyle. And so not the best setup here for Joseph, but if Terrance is looking to target the Showmance or Kyle or whatever, then there are some plentiful options available to avoid the block here. But Terrance is going to open up the strategy talks, talking to Turner, and says, "So my target is Joseph."
Dun, dun, dun.
Welp.
Let's start getting a little worried, because that's what's happening now.
Yeah, it's like
Joseph.
If this group consistency by itself, if that was okay, flip a coin, this could be good or bad for Joseph. Terrance saying Joseph is my target. Now it's okay, 75%. This is bad for Joseph. But then Turner says, because Terrance is okay, I want to target Joseph. He's I don't feel like I've ever been a priority for Joseph. I feel like he's been playing both sides, and I don't like what he's doing in the game. I want to target Joseph. Who should I put up, Turner? And Turner suggests, why don't you put up Kyle and Alyssa? You can say that you're going after the showmans. You can backdoor Joseph. And Terrance is like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. So we're at 75%. Locked in there. If Kyle and Alyssa go on the block, there's lots of outs for Joseph. He can win the veto. Turner can win the veto. Even if Kyle or Alyssa wins the veto, then Joseph goes up on the block. And now, say if Kyle wins the veto, he comes down. Joseph goes up. It's Joseph versus Alyssa. Kyle will have to show his cards to vote Joseph out. He at least has a little bit of a chance versus some of the other options. So things are still, it's not looking great for Joseph, but they're looking like, okay, this is not worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Terrance says, I like this idea. Kyle and Alyssa on the block. I will tell Alyssa about it. I'm not going to tell Kyle that about the plan yet. Turner's like, that's fire. Fire, facts. We're down. Fire, fact festival. And then Terrance talks to Alyssa. And he says, okay, so my plan is to target Joseph. And she's like, great. That's literally the person I was hoping you would say. He says, okay, so I think my best chance to get Joseph out is to put you and Kyle up. She's like, you're putting me up? He's like, well, you don't think I should? I mean, I want to work with you. So like, if you have a better idea, please let me know. And she's like, yeah, my better idea is that you don't put me up. And he's like, oh, interesting. Okay, tell me more. She's like, well, I don't think Joseph is going to try any less hard in the veto just because he's not on the block. I don't think that there's a point in backdooring anybody at the with 5 people. So I think, maybe just put him up. He's like, just put him up initially and call it a day. She's like, yeah. It's like, well, yeah, I think you're right. That whole thing was Turner's plan, putting you and Kyle up on the block. So she goes, damn it, Turner.
First of all, I love that, Turner pitches this backdoor plan and Terrance like a concept. I like that. He won't see it coming. Cool. He can still play for the veto, so it's not a backdoor. And then I love how quickly Alyssa's like, how about you don't put me up? And he's like, you know what? I hadn't thought of that. And mull it over. It's good. You know what? Screw Turner. That was his thing. This is my thing. This is the most Terrance turn of events ever.
Yes. So the dial is continuing to go. The pressure dial on the Joseph danger is continuing to go up now. If Joseph goes up on the block with Kyle, now if Alyssa wins the veto, Joseph is out. If Kyle wins the veto, Joseph is probably out. If Terrance wins the veto, Joseph is out. If Turner wins the veto, there's still a chance that Joseph is out. So we'll get into more of those possibilities as we run through the rest of the conversations. But things are looking worse and worse for Joseph as the night progresses. Terrance says, if Kyle and Joseph go up, you're like, are you okay with that? And she's like, no, I'm totally fine. I wouldn't use the veto because I want Joseph to leave and I trust you to evict Joseph. And Terrance says, okay, well, me and Michael are supposed to be taking out 2 targets right now. Almost as if they had a conversation before they got to break up. So you won't be upset with me putting Kyle up? She says, no. And he says, perfect. I want to lock in with you, Kyle, and Turner. We can really do something in this game moving forward. And she's like, that sounds great to me. And he's like, I know that Jazz is your girl, but she plays friendship. And this game isn't about friendship. And Alyssa's like, I totally get it. I know what this game is about. I'm with you, Terrance.
I mean, it's good to, get that tip ahead of time from Brittany to, hey, separate yourself from Jasmine. Comes into play here. That works out. Here's the thing, Taran. So Joseph goes up, Kyle goes up. You think if Kyle wins the veto, he won't use it to take himself off the block?
I think he will use it to take himself off the block. But I do think that Terrance is more likely to put Turner on the block as a replacement than Alyssa.
Really?
And I think Kyle will support that notion. right? I think both Kyle and Alyssa will be like, yeah, go ahead and put Turner up. Obviously, we're voting Joseph out. And I think, we just saw the different, like, we just saw Turner talk to Terrance and Alyssa talk to Terrance, and Alyssa got her way. I think that obviously the play from Turner is you put Alyssa on the block, you guarantee that that Kyle's going to vote to keep Alyssa, and you're not going to lose Joseph. So the argument is stronger on that end, but I certainly would worry, because I do think that Kyle and Alyssa will both push for Turner to go up on the block. So it's not a guarantee that that Joseph would go, but I don't like it for Joseph for sure. And it's much worse for Joseph than if Kyle and Alyssa had been on the block already, because if Kyle took himself down in that spot, Alyssa was already on the block, right? So it's not great. It's not great. And then if Turner wins the veto, I think he's much more likely to take Kyle off the block at this time than Joseph, forcing Alyssa next to Joseph. And then again, it's like you're still in both of these spots, you're still relying on Kyle to not vote Joseph out, and to vote Alyssa out, which.
Yeah, I'm going to be sweating it this week for the outside HOH reign. I haven't really thought about the inside as much, but I am worried about the outside.
Yeah. Forward. Basically, the only way for Joseph to guarantee he stays this week is by winning the veto himself. Every other option, I'm not sure about. I don't think there's any. The next best thing is Turner winning the veto, using it on Joseph, but Kyle has a lot of arguments against that. He says to Turner, I promise you I'll vote Alyssa out if he needs to. He'll say to Turner, I'm your final two. Why would you put me at risk? He'll say to Turner, you're going to piss Terrance off by going against the plan. The plan is to use it on me, not Joseph. We're going to, unnecessarily make Terrance mad at us. It's certainly possible that Turner still use it on Joseph, because he realizes that obviously but the thing is too, though, like, it's actually not the worst thing for Turner to get Joseph out here. I don't think Turner sees that or wants that, but I do think that Turner's in a better position in a spot where Joseph is not around, especially, again, considering all this stuff about, like, why is he going to the end with all of these bros that he loses to? His position as, like, middle ground between, what will eventually be, like, Kyle versus Michael, I think, especially with Monty there, like, it's not that bad. So if you're a Turner fan, you might actually kind of be hoping for this outcome, maybe, depending on how much of a Turner fan you are, I guess. But it's also not like a locked in thing. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, we'll see. I feel like you're again in a position where Kyle will potentially have to prove that he's willing to vote out Alyssa. And I genuinely think especially if some of the things we just described, where they have the opportunity to use the veto in a way to get Alyssa on the block and they do not, and then the twist is over, Joseph leaves, I simply do not see any of them trusting him to vote out Alyssa. I feel like at that point, how many weeks have you said you do it and you haven't done it? And the way the breakdown has gone, there's one from the leftovers that's not on each side. This is your true test. And if Kyle chooses not to do that, he's going to have to run. He's going to have to run and try his best to make it to the end of that point, because it's very clearly there, and he very clearly did not take that shot. And
zero reason he should ever vote out Alyssa there. Like, he should vote out Alyssa in that spot, I think.
You think that Kyle shouldn't vote out Alyssa this week, no matter what?
No matter what. No, definitely not.
Do you think he'll land fine coming out of this if he keeps Alyssa?
He's screwed either. He's been screwed since last week. That's why he needs Alyssa. He's keeping Joseph, who wants him gone, like probably ASAP, over Alyssa, who will be ride or die for him. Like, no way.
Yeah, he's made his bet, is what you're saying. And like, I think what you're saying also is the leftovers, there's no longer a path for him. He needs to counter alliance it up, and like, who's he gonna put together? Really, that's what it's gonna be. I think he's done. I think it's curtains for him, which would mean, Taran, your draft is in jeopardy.
Yeah. At least I don't have to eat any chapstick, though.
I'm not gonna eat a chapstick. Why would you bring that up? Why would you bring that up? Why would you bring that up? You know what? What's annoying is getting these. I've said this every week now. Just the tweets. The tweets are awful. I don't like them. Aman, why'd you do this to me, Aman? Why? Okay, whatever. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, Terrance is going to conclude the conversation here again with Alyssa. He wants to lock things in. Terrance is going to talk to Joseph. And Joseph tells Terrance, Terrance tells Joseph, hey, I already told Alyssa I would never put her on the block. So, I talked to her about it. She said, I don't want to go up. So my hands are kind of tied. I can't put Alyssa up. And Joseph's like, okay, so what are you thinking? Because, I've got you, Terrance, right? And Terrance is like, totally. All I know is that I know Kyle needs to go up on the block because Kyle is my target. And Joseph says, okay, well, I hope you know that if I'm on the block next to Kyle, Turner's going to keep Kyle and vote me out. And Terrance is like, well, all I know is that Kyle needs to go up on the block. And Joseph is like, so I guess I'm the target then? And Terrance is like, all I know is that Kyle needs to go up on the Joseph is like, look, I hope I wanted to include you in the group and I wanted to protect you. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm not with you. I hope you don't think that sending me home makes sense. Kyle and Alyssa, they are a unit. One of them should go. And Taran says, yeah, Kyle is definitely the one that should go up on the block, and I do want him out. And Joseph is like, but if I'm on the block, I will leave. I will leave, Terrance. And he's like, yeah, totally don't want you to leave because I want Kyle to go. He is the target. And Joseph is like, okay, I have your back, Terrance. Joseph was like, Terrance is like, yeah, I've got your back too because Kyle is the target.
I'm sad. I don't.
This didn't go well.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate is what I would say about that.
Yeah. Terrance talks to Kyle. He tells Kyle Joseph is the target. We just need to talk through the options for sending him out. He says, I've promised both Turner and Alyssa that I wouldn't put them up. So the scenario would be you and him. And Kyle says, yep, cool with that. What we talked about with Michael, you just need one person who's voting to feel the same way as you, and you can guarantee you get out your target. AKA confirmation that they had some conversations about the final 5 scenarios prior to the groups splitting up. And Michael was able to help Terrance strategize how to make this work.
It's so stupid. Like, wasn't the whole point of this twist that there's 2 games playing out in isolation? If you gave them even 5 minutes to strategize, there was no isolation. All you did was let them plan everything, separate them, and then watch it play out. I'm very annoyed that they didn't do what you highlighted last night, which is everyone shush, stand in the corner, face the wall, whatever, kindergarten way of punishment, choose it, and then let everything go. This could have been a good twist turn. This could have been a very evergreen twist. Do this more often. Bury it. I don't want it.
Yeah. So he says, no point in backdooring because we all compete in the veto. He walks Terrance through the scenarios. The only bad scenario is Joseph winning the veto, but Kyle is ready and willing to take that risk. And so Kyle is fine going up on the block. And he kind of should be. In a lot of ways, Kyle is actually the safest person in this group. Alyssa's never voting him out. Turner's never really voting him out unless something changes. So he's pretty locked in. Whereas there were scenarios where like Turner could end up on the block next to Alyssa, and maybe with Kyle and Terrance, they vote out Turner. That's not looking like it's going to happen anymore because Alyssa's not going up initially. But Kyle is actually the person that is theoretically safest in this group.
If Joseph wins veto, who does Terrance want out?
It's possible that he wants. Okay, I see what you're saying. So if like say he puts up Turner or Alyssa, and then Joseph votes out Kyle. So if Joseph wins the veto, and Terrance puts up Turner, then Joseph has the reason he needs to vote out Kyle over Turner, and then Terrance may choose to evict Kyle over Turner. That's definitely a possibility. I would say that first of all, Turner would have to go up in the first place, which not a guarantee. Then they'd have to convince Terrance to do it. And I don't know. What does Terrance value more? Does he want Turner on his side here, or does he want Kyle and Alyssa on his side? It's possible. It's possible. I don't think it's very likely, but it's definitely possible.
Intrigue. So, okay, next question. If it's this tiny veto, because again, Jasmine and Michael talked about this earlier, I'm more and more, given that the backyard is occupied right now, think that it will be some kind of comp in that area. Who's got the steadiest hands on this side that you think has a good shot of winning?
On this side, it's a good question. It's honestly hard to say. Turner does a lot of like crafts, right? Like,
Yes.
I feel like he should have an advantage here, if it's something like that. But it's honestly such a crapshoot, in my opinion, as to like who has these kinds of skills, that you never really know,
Yeah. Well, you could have the steadiest hands too, but in the middle of a competition with you're getting pumped up, you're getting nervous, your heart's beating fast. I feel like it's more so who's got the cooler head than the steadier hands. I think that'll prevail. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Yeah. Do we think it, because the veto, it's definitely something that it's probably easiest to edit if it is like individual, because you can just montage through all of the people playing.
Right.
So, it would not surprise me at all if it was individual, especially because they can't have it like in the backyard. They're going to have it in the, like the basement or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are usually individual comps that they have down there, except for when they did the anal ice competition. So who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be the small veto one. It could be anything as long as it can be done in the basement area. Also, we didn't talk about this really, but given the budgeting and the way some of these comps have looked, Direfest was the perfect thing to go full minimalist on a twist here, because they've got a little tent, they've got a little air mattress, they've got like some countertop that metal countertop they've brought in, very much nothing going on there. And half of them were like trying to sleep on the it's going to be rough outside after the first 2 days. Oh, and there's porta potties. If anyone's wondering if they could go inside, they cannot. They can only do their business outside.
Yeah, it's like, it's not even a tent. It's like a canopy. Like it's not even a big one. Like it's a little thing.
Yeah, you'd put it on the beach to get some shading, and like it'd be a very fancy umbrella at the beach, is what I would call it.
You'd have it for like for like the beach for like a couple of people. It's not great. But that's about where we are here. On the inside, it's looking like it's Jasmine or Monty, depending on who wins the veto. If Jasmine wins the veto, it's Monty. If Jasmine doesn't win the veto, it is probably Jasmine. On the other side, we have a little bit more intrigue. It's most likely Joseph that goes home unless he wins the veto. If he wins the veto, things get a little trickier. It could be Alyssa. It could be Kyle. It could be Turner. Could be any one of those three at that point. If Kyle wins the veto, things are also a little weird, but it's still probably Joseph. It just depends on who goes up to replace Kyle, Alyssa or Turner. Either way, I think Kyle votes out Joseph. But like how he looks to the alliance changes a lot, whether it's Turner that he votes for or Alyssa. And then if Turner wins the veto, things are a little interesting, because then it's who does he use the veto on, Kyle or Joseph? I still kind of assume Kyle, but there's definitely a lot of arguments to be made to use it on Joseph. And then again, does Kyle then vote out Joseph, or do they eventually get out Alyssa, whether he uses it on Joseph or Kyle? And then there's also one more piece of intrigue that we haven't really discussed yet, which is Joseph still has the nuclear option. Joseph still has the panic button, which is, hey, Terrance, they're all in an alliance without you. It's been going on for weeks. If you take me out, they will just cut you next. If you keep me in, I will be with you because I just ratted them out and they're all going to be pissed at me now. Basically just rat everybody out.
If Joseph doesn't win this veto, first of all, I'm going to be terrified. Second of all, I 100% don't see him backing down without a fight. And that could be an option he ends up picking. That could be something that happens.
I would hope so. I hope he doesn't just go down with the ship.
I don't think so. I just can't see that happening. I mean, again, this is Joseph who talks a lot, who is known for talking. I don't think he's just going to be like, all right, I'll be quiet. No.
He's so loyal to the leftovers, though. I'm worried.
But is he loyal to himself more? That's the question. Because he might have to be. He might be in that position where he has to be. So
I hope so.
We'll see.
The thing is, in that spot, it's almost like if Alyssa does end up on the block next to him, he'll definitely not rat the alliance out because the only hope would be to keep them solid, and then Kyle will probably just blindside him. So, or maybe not. Who knows? But yeah. Basically, we're just waiting on the veto. Like the noms, we already know them. They don't really matter here. We're just, unless something changes again with Terrance, it's certainly possible. Terrance is, I think, definitely open to changing the nominations more than Michael is. Michael is definitely locked in on his. It's possible that like Turner talks to Terrance again and maybe gets him to change the noms. Alyssa and Kyle, both kind of, or Kyle more so, did kind of float the idea of, do you think Turner would use the veto on Joseph, though? And they both kind of agreed quickly, no, he wouldn't. But it wouldn't surprise me if Kyle made one more attempt at getting Turner on the block next to Joseph instead of Alyssa, which would make things even easier for Kyle if that were to happen. That is the true worst case scenario for Joseph at that point. So we'll see if anything changes with the noms, but we are likely going to see them locked in at this point. And the main thing to look for now is the veto. And the rest of the week should be pretty straightforward, depending on which veto option plays out. Outside is looking a little more intriguing, but inside is probably going to be relatively straightforward, although we've said that before this season and it hasn't played out that way. But man, this could have been so much more interesting if we had a different group dynamic.
100% agreed, because inside is pretty much obvious to us at this point. Unless Jasmine wins the veto, she's out. If Jasmine wins the veto, Monty's out. And then on the flip side, if Joseph doesn't win, he's in big trouble and potentially is donezo. It's over. If Joseph wins the veto, a lot of intrigue opens back up for me on that outside side. So there's some stuff, but I agree. I feel like, again, this could have been a very intriguing week, intriguing twist. And because they got to talk and pre-plan, and because Michael was one of the ones at the wheel who like picked very optimally for himself, we are left with a pretty straightforward situation here.
Yep. So that's the split house for the day. Anything else that you wanted to bring up, Pooya?
Not that I can think of, honestly. I think with everything that's going on with this game, once we get through this week, we're down to the final 8. I'm excited to see how that plays out. I'm excited to see how, some of these players do without the rest of the house, if that makes sense, because, the leftovers, the 7 of them have been pretty much talking often, keeping communication open. They can't do that this week. Half of them are here, half of them are there. But I'm more so intrigued. I guess get back to me after the veto, because if Joseph doesn't win the veto, I'll be very sad. But we'll see, won't we? We'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'll be back, of course, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today, both inside and outside on the Big Brother 24 live feeds. It'll be interesting to not just have like some nighttime discussions, but an entire day to run through on both ends. that's like the only part of the twist that I'm still kind of like intrigued about in terms of like just following the feeds to have two different games playing out at the same time. I just wish that they were more interesting.
I do wish they gave us Octocam. That would have been great.
Yeah.
That would have been a fun experiment, but like that was never going to happen. I think outside is going to be very easy to keep track of.
Oh yeah.
The outside's easy. It's the inside that's going to be tough because it's either going to be in the HOH room or something interesting happens and they pan into another room for a little bit. But it's just going to depend where the majority hang in. Because like for the first part of the feeds, they were in the kitchen, dining room area, dining table. And then it was just in the HOH. So we'll see, I guess. So maybe 5 people shouldn't be that tough to track. So we'll see.
So that's pretty much what we've got here. Of course, Rob and I will be live with the Q&A in just a little bit here, talking about your questions. If you want to call in, ask some things. There's I think plenty to talk about in terms of different ways that these groups could have gone. So that'll be interesting to talk about. Make sure you tune in for that. We will also hopefully have some answers from Indy in terms of the questions we sent out. They are much more limited, of course, as she is a juror. We did not get to speak with Indy. We just sent some questions over, so we'll see if we have any responses from those for those in the Q&A here today. And then again, tomorrow morning, live feed update. We'll see how it all plays out. And that's what we got for you. Make sure you come and find me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, watching these episodes live with all of you, having some fun with that. And check out the Among Us videos I've been posting. We have a very fun one this week about me being a jester and tricking people into voting me out. It's like, it's like if I was Jasmine this week, I would have actually won.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say I don't think I voted for you either of those, but I had to watch you in agony because I was in a good spot too. But that's a good video. Definitely watch that video.
So check that one out and find me over on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. Pooya, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Pooyaism, and then they can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. We'll be back tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern over on my Twitch channel to talk about some stuff going on in the house and a lot of other stuff. So definitely come join us if you're around. And then 2 p.m. on Sunday, we've got our Goose Goose Duck lobby back for, I want to say week 94. So definitely come through. 2 p.m. should be a lot of fun there. I was a guest over on the Married at First Sight wrap up this week with Jason and Asia. So definitely check me out over there. Very happy Asia invited me to go talk to them. I enjoyed myself. And then I had Rob on with me for 90 Day this week. I've got Chappelle on with me for 90 Day next week. All good. It's good times.
All right. Well, that's again what we have for you here today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see all of you next time.